Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host, Stephen Bardo. I'm going to be quick on the intro because we've got some good stuff today on the show. Really good interview with Maryland assistant Greg Manning. Also got my man Rapheal Davis in the house. We go over all things NIL in the Big Ten, go over some blue ribbon rankings and an exciting, heavy show. And I'll get to your questions after I do Bardo's top 50 as well. We'll do the next iteration, the next five. And this is a good group, as all of them are. So buckle up, sit back, get something to drink because this is a good one. All right, let's go. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming back with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm really pleased to be joined by Greg Manning Jr., Maryland's assistant coach. Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, wonderful, man. Thanks for joining. I know we tried to schedule a couple times and got mixed up, but I'm glad we could connect because I'm really excited. I think I was talking to you before we started recording about some things that have come out recently, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to share with our viewers some of your background and how you got into coaching, your playing career, and some of the things that have taken place. So talk about your playing career and how that led to you getting into the coaching world.
Yeah, absolutely. I played high school ball down in Georgia. I grew up in this area, Stephen. I was a Terp fan my whole life. My father played here.
Yep.
So I grew up going to games. I was a ball boy for Maryland. Went to the camps. So I did it all here at Maryland at a really young age. And then my father took the AD job at Georgia State. So he went down there and was AD down there for a few years when Lefty was the coach. So Lefty coached him, and then he had an opportunity to work and be the AD with Lefty when he was coaching at Georgia State. So, but through my ties at the University of Maryland and my father's, I got really close with Jimmy Patsos, who was an assistant coach here at the time when I was coming to camp, and he kind of took me under his wing. My father was also doing the radio for them at the time. So when it came time to decide where to go to college, Coach Patsos had just gotten the job at Loyola, Maryland. So it was kind of a no-brainer. My father knew him. He trusted him. I remembered my time with Jimmy when I was a young kid. So wasn't quite, obviously wanted to be a Terp, but wasn't quite as good as my old man. So decided to go up the road to Baltimore and play for the Greyhounds. But I had a great experience. It's an unbelievable university. I played for Jimmy for all 4 years there. We did some great things. I think we set a school record my senior year of 19 wins. So that's how I got into basketball and got into college, was playing for Coach Patsos. And then from there, he at the time, I think I was the youngest Division I assistant coach. I graduated and we had an opening, and Jimmy made me an assistant right away. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Back then it paid like $28,000, Steve, and I thought it was loaded, So, but I got an opportunity to get on the road. Jimmy kind of this area is so rich with basketball talent, high school kids, AU kids. So what he did was he just said, go meet everybody you can, and just kind of hit the road. And look, I don't need you to practice every day. I just need you out meeting people and form relationships so you can obviously recruit for us. So that's kind of where it started. Did 5 years there. Followed Coach Patsos up to Siena, which was a great opportunity for us to kind of move to a bigger scale, just a small town in Albany, but they really care about basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We would get 7,000-8,000 people at our games every night. So did 5 years there. And then ended up here at Maryland. I had some opportunities when we left Siena to go to a similar situation, some mid-major stuff, but kind of decided I wanted to try to get to the highest level. And obviously Maryland, like I mentioned before, is a special place. So I tried to do anything I could to get here. And luckily Coach Turgeon at the time had a spot available. He brought me in as the video coordinator, worked my way up from there to director of operations, and eventually got on as an assistant coach with Coach Willard. So it's been a fun ride with a couple stops, but I'm really excited to still be here at Maryland after 7 years. And this is a dream come true for me to be able to coach here.
Coach, thanks for sharing that, because I think the majority of viewers that check in with Bardo's breakdown, a lot of them in Illinois, the Midwest,
Sure.
we've got them all over the conference footprint, but I don't think enough Big Ten fans understand how special Maryland is in terms of the history, the passionate fan base that you guys have, and the fact that you kind of grew up as a Terrapin and coming full circle. What does that feel like? That's got to be incredible.
Yeah, it is. I pinch myself every day. I just can't believe I'm coaching here. Like I said, I sat on the back of the basket when Steve Francis was playing, and Joe Smith and Juan Dixon, those guys. And when I was 10 years old, just being a ball boy. So never thought I'd coach here, to be honest with you. It never really was something that I envisioned, and it kind of just fell into place after getting into the business. But you mentioned it. This is a really, really special place. Not many places have won national championships in men and women's basketball. We've won one. Coach Williams did a great job here and won one in 2002. The women, I think, won one in 2006. So there's a great history here. It's in the DMV, which is really cool. It's the heartbeat of college basketball. And it's just, I'm lucky. Like I said, my father played here, so he loves it. He tunes in. He comes to every game. So it's special. I don't take anything for granted. Obviously, being here, I know how special it is to be an assistant at this level and at this university. So just enjoying it, but working hard every day.
Oh, I love that, man. And I think anybody that's watching can understand how special this is for you to come back and be a part of Maryland, because it's been in your blood the whole time. Coach, let's transition and talk about some of your players a little bit so we can get our audience kind of acclimated with you guys.
Sure.
Let's start with some of the transfers. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. Can you touch on each one of them and share with us what they bring?
Yeah, it's so different now. The recruiting landscape has changed so much over the last really year and a half with the transfers and NIL and all that kind of stuff. So we've kind of, I think the University of Maryland, we're in a really good position to get transfers, not only kids nationally, but kids that are from here that want to come home. There's so many kids here, Stephen, that you can't recruit them all out of high school. There's probably 40, 50 kids in this area that could play for us. So you got to recruit them, and then hopefully, you get the one or two that you want, and then get guys on the back end. So we were able to do that with some of these guys. First up right there, obviously, Jacoby Gillespie. He's the guy everybody was talking about that we got early. Just a really, really talented player. Jacoby's going to come in here and run the show for us. He's going to be the point guard for this team this year. He's got big shoes to fill. He had Jameer Young here last year, who was first team All Big Ten and scored around 20 a game. And we're different this year, though, Steven. We're not asking Jacoby to come in and do that. He doesn't have to come in here and score 20 for us. He doesn't have to be first team All League. I think we've put some pieces around him this year that are going to really help him. Anytime you jump up a level, now he comes from a good level. I mean, he's coming from a league and a team that's very well coached. The guy Domask from your alma mater, was in the same league. So the kid at Purdue that transferred came from that league. So it's a well coached league. It's a high level league. But Jacoby's special. He's a true point guard that can score it. He's different than Jameer, but he's got great court vision. He's cat quick. He shot it around 40% from three last year, which was something we struggled with mightily, was shooting the ball. So we're excited about him. He's had a great summer. Just a really good player from a really good program and family. The second guy you have there, Rodney Rice. This is kind of what I was touching on earlier. Rodney's a local guy. He went to DeMatha right down the street, 2 miles. So Rodney's always wanted to be here. Just obviously, like I said, it doesn't work out every time that we can't take everybody, but Rodney visited us and knew he wanted to come home. His dad's from here. His family's from here. They're great people. And Rodney played at this level, which I think, like I said, Jacoby's coming up a step, but we wanted to get some guys that had played minutes at this level. He didn't play a ton. He's had some injuries at Virginia Tech, but just a guy that can really score the ball. He's been terrific this summer. He can get his own shot. He can play the 1, 2, and 3. So he's a really talented guard that can really score the ball. So we're excited about Rodney. The next guy there, Tafar Gapari. Tafar, again, was at this level. He played for Davis Iron. He's played for some good coaches. He played against North Carolina, Duke's, the best of the best. So he's got good experience. We actually recruited him for about 4 or 5 years. We with the last staff I was here, we had him on an official visit. Then when he transferred to Georgia Tech, we had him on an official visit. Now that he's coming, we're all excited about him. But long, athletic, kind of a hybrid 3-4, could play some 5 in a pinch because he can guard 1 through 5. but just a great athlete. He's shooting the ball a little bit better than he showed last year, which we're excited about. But he's the type of guy in this league that he looks a little different than most guys. It's not the most athletic league. It's a big, strong, physical league. So we hope he can give us some athleticism in the front court.
Okay.
Jalen Young is one kid we took late. He was with our other assistant coach, Kevin Norris, at UCF for a couple of years, and then he went to Memphis last year. But another point guard that we could put on the floor and just kind of trust him. He's been around. He's played at this level for 3-4 years. But just another quick guard that's just a pure point guard, can get us into our sets with some of these big guys we have, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, here shortly. Some really good, talented guys in the front court. So another good option for us to throw in there. And then see Selton Miguel. Selton's special, man. Selton can score the basketball, which we struggled with last year. We were a top 5 team defensively in the country, and I think we were 360th shooting the three. So we made sure to go out and find some guys that could do that, and Selton can do that. Selton played actually this summer for his Angolan national team. They didn't qualify for the Olympics, but he had an opportunity to go overseas and compete and try to make the Olympics. Unfortunately, they didn't make it, but he was playing grown men. They played Spain, I think, in their first game. He was out there with Bruno Fernando, who's played here a couple of years ago. I'm sure you remember Bruno. So those were actually distant cousins, which is pretty neat. So Bruno helped in that recruiting process. But Selton's a scorer. He can fill it up. I think he averaged 16 last year, South Florida. Was 6th man of the year in the AAC. So he's been around a little bit too. He was at Kansas State for a while. So we got older. I think we got deeper. And we got some veteran guys in here that can score the ball.
Yeah, I love your breakdown of these guys. I've covered Tafara. Georgia Tech played Penn State up at the Garden last season, so I've got a chance to see him. I thought your description of him was perfect because this is a guy, ladies and gentlemen, that is athletic enough to guard 1 through 5 without a problem. And he's a young man that seemed like he was almost like I'm going to present whatever I can do, whatever you want me to do, coach, I'll do. And I'm not going to, kind of balk at it. He seemed like a really good team guy. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he is. He's a great kid. That's why we've recruited him 3 times. We've been trying to get him here, and it finally worked out. But he's got some family in this area. So that helped him kind of pick us on the back end here after a couple of times transferring. But yeah, he doesn't need the ball in his hands, Stephen, like you mentioned. He can guard anybody on the court. His length is awesome. His athleticism is second to none. He just does things out there on the court that you're like, wow, man, we didn't know he had that. And he's smart. He really knows how to play, which I think was the biggest thing that impressed us this summer in our 8 weeks of workouts. He's a smart, intelligent guy. He's always in the right spot. He knows defensive assignments. He knows where to be on offense. So we're excited to have him out there. He's going to play a lot for us this year.
Oh, that's great, man. So, and it's funny because, as we're talking in the summer with all the transfers and everything, there was a mention about you guys doing well in the transfer portal, but I don't know that enough of us did enough deep dive on this. And now before this, your class coming in is really, really special. Let's talk about some of your returners. Can you touch on each of these guys and are their roles going to change? Are they going to stay the same? What are your expectations for each of these key returners?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So obviously Julian Reese is the main one there. Everybody is going to kind of talk about. We think Juju could be the best center in the league this year. Obviously some guys, Bardo transferred in, who's a really good player from Arizona. But there's some really good bigs. But Juju has the pedigree, the mentality. I think he's shown it over the last 3 years. The thing about Jew is he's just gotten better and better, Stephen, each year. He gets a little bit better every year. But he's been working. He's really trying to expand his game, which we're excited about. He didn't really shoot the ball for us last year. He would shoot it to 10, 12 feet. But he's been in the gym all summer working on his shot. It looks really good. He's shooting free throws at a high level. And he's putting it on the floor a little bit. With Derek coming in, who we'll talk about shortly, we asked you that you're going to have to change a little bit. And you're going to have to expand your game and be able to put the ball on the floor, be able to step out and make a shot. And he's been working all summer. He's got the genes. Obviously, his sister's a great player. His mother was a great player. So Jude's been working really hard, and he's going to be. It's Jude's team. He's been here 4 years. He's been through the ringer. He's been to the NCAA tournament. He's missed the NCAA tournament, so he understands what it takes to get back there. So we're going to lean on Juju a lot this year to throw that ball into the post and have him make the right plays. He's obviously going to get double teamed, so we put some good pieces around him that'll help him. Deshaun Harris-Smith has been great. Deshaun made first team all rookie last year in the Big Ten. It was tough last year. Deshaun had a lot of pressure on him last year. He was a top 25 recruit coming out of high school. And freshmen in this league, no matter how talented you are, it's really hard to step in and play a lot of minutes. And we asked him to do that last year, and he played 28 to 30 minutes last year at a pretty high level for us. He's gotten better as well. He's really been in the gym working on his jump shot. He's got everything else down. He's a smart player. He's a competitor. Deshaun can get into the paint whenever he wants. Last year we put him on the best player every year, every game. Whoever the best guard was, it was his responsibility to lock him down. He did a great job. He's just got to get a little bit better shooting the ball from the perimeter, and he's done that. He shot it well this summer. And I mean, those two guys right there, Julian Reese and Deshaun Harris-Smith, are good friends, and they've been livid in the gym, which you love to see. So we're expecting a big year out of Deshaun. Jahari there. Jahari got hurt last year. I'm not sure if you remember. So Jahari's he's going to be out this year. Jahari's a great kid, but he tore his knee up the second to last game of the year last year in the Big Ten tournament. So Jahari's here. He's rehabbing. We'll see if we can get Jahari back towards the end of the year or conference play, but we're not sure yet. That's kind of just going to depend on his rehab. But great kid who will be back next year, hopefully. And then Jordan, who's a Big Ten lifer, man. Jordan's been around for a long time. Jordan, we covered him at Indiana, and now he's been here for 2 years. So, Jordan gave us a lot of energy last year. He's athletic. He's strong. He's physical. He's played in this league. I think the good thing for Jordan is last year was really the first year that he's played significant minutes, at this level for a long period of time. He started for us at Indiana. He was kind of a spot minute guy. So, it was really all new to him last year, playing that many minutes and having that much responsibility. So, Jordan, we weren't sure when we brought him in at the end of the year what he was going to do, if he wanted to stay or if he, move on. Some guys just want to move on, but he was adamant about staying, which we were so happy about. We didn't even get a word out. It was, Coach, I'm coming back. I'm ready to get better and keep working. But just a great athlete, can guard, again, just like Tafar. I think both those guys, having those guys that can, at the end of the game, we could put them out there at the 3 and 4, and they can switch everything. They can guard 1 through 4 for us. So Jordan's going to be important for us this year as well.
So let me ask you this about Deshaun. I thought you were spot on with, and thank you for sharing that information about, putting a lot on him, being a freshman in the Big Ten, having to guard the opposing team's best wing player. That's a lot for a freshman. And I know that him being a top 25 guy out of the DMV, playing, near home, that's a tremendous amount of pressure. What was he able to do? Because down the stretch, he started to play really well. What was the change, or was it just him figuring out what he needed to do at this level? Yeah,
I think so. I think, like you said, it's hard, man, when you come in here and you're playing against guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old. And, Deshaun, in high school, he could kind of do whatever he wanted. He could bully guys. He could get to the rim. He could finish. He could post up. And then when you get here, you're like, okay, I got to be able to beat somebody off the dribble. I got to be able to stop on a dime and pull up and make a jumper. I got to make open threes. So it's just really hard. And, we lost 2 guys that really helped us, Ian Martinez and Hakeem Hart, to the transfer portal. So, last year, really, we were playing with 3 freshmen out there and Jameer. And the season didn't go as Deshaun wanted for himself. Obviously, he still made all rookie team, and we didn't get where he wanted to as a team. But I think those minutes that he placed even last year are really going to help him this year. Not many freshmen play 30 minutes a game in this league. So
that's true.
He obviously did it. It's great. He's a real sophomore. So, but yeah, it was a lot of pressure on him to come in and compete and play well for us. And the games he did play well, we won most of the majority of the time, because Jameer was going to do his thing. Obviously, Jew was doing his thing. And Deshaun was that third guy in there that really, he kind of learned along the way and just got better, like you said, each game. And towards the end of the year, the Big Ten tournament, even a couple games before it, he really turned into his own. And we were like, all right, we got something here. It just took a little bit of time, but it's a good thing that he played so many minutes for this year for us.
I love seeing these young guys, Coach, progress and, sell themselves out for the process. And it seems like he's done that. He's gotten a lot better. Big body and a nice kid. I've gotten a chance to talk to him a few times. I really enjoy it. Now, you got some talented freshmen as well. I know everybody knows about Derek Queen. We'll talk about him. Malachi Palmer. Braden Pierce was a redshirt freshman. But go ahead. You can start off with Derek because, goodness. From what I've seen, he is talented.
Yeah, Derek's the one, man. He's this is my 7th year, going in my 7th year, and he's probably right there with Jalen Smith Sticks as a guy that's I don't know if anybody's more ready to play than Derek at that age. His skill set and his skill development is unbelievable. It's second to none. He's Derek will get a rebound. He can bring. We joke and say Derek might be the backup point guard this year. He can get a rebound and bring it. He's an elite passer. He's super unselfish. He's all of 6'9", 6'10", and his footwork inside is probably the best I've seen of anybody we've had since I've been here. And we've had some really good big guys here. He's done a great job this summer getting in the weight room with Kyle Tarp and getting his body right. He's just a really hard worker that wants it, but his talent level is superb, and he's made Juju better. Him and Juju actually played together in high school with their freshman and senior year. So Derek was a freshman when Juju was a senior. So he's pushed Juju. He's gotten Juju better, but he's going to be a big piece of this team, and we're excited about him. But he's just a kid that everybody's going to love. He's got a great personality, more so even more than his game. How good he is. He's a great kid, and I think the fan base is really going to enjoy Derek.
That's great. That's great.
He's special. Malachi Palmer's another interesting kid. We were recruiting him for a long time. He didn't have the greatest summer going into his senior year. He switched teams a couple times and kind of fell off some people's radar. But a strong physical guard at that wing spot. He kind of looks like Deshaun Harris-Smith when you talk about his body. He's a big kid, and he's a scorer. We're working on his passing, Steven, but he likes to pass that thing to the rim right now. So
I get
it. He's just wired to score, and he's like I said, he's all 6'4", 6'5", strong kid. He's a local kid from Harrisburg, PA, that actually played prep school down here about 2 miles from campus. So another one of those, like you mentioned, local kids that we got to come, and we're excited about him for sure.
Okay. And then you said Braden Pierce. I know he's a redshirt freshman. Would he be looking at some backup minutes at the 5?
Yeah, absolutely. Braden, we brought Braden in from IMG last year, and we decided to redshirt him, right before the season started, just because of what we had, obviously, with Juju and the pieces we had behind Ju. And Braden, he wasn't quite ready. Obviously, his body has changed tremendously over the year that he's been here, and he's really worked. Coach Cox and him are in the gym every morning. He's really worked on his game. He's gotten better. I think the piece that everybody will like about Braden is he can stretch the floor. And Derek didn't really have to shoot the 3 ball in high school because he's just so dominant. They went 36-0 or whatever they did at Mount Verd with Cooper Flagg. So he could get away with just scoring in the post, but Derek he can actually step out and shoot it. But Braden's one of those typical big guys in the Big Ten that you usually see that can pick and pop, and he's going to be able to earn himself some minutes because of that. He can back these guys up. He can play spot minutes for us, but he's just developed his game over the past year and has just gotten better and better. He's a hard worker, great kid, but he's that one big guy that we feel comfortable with that can step outside and knock threes down pretty consistently.
Boy, that's big, man. Going through your roster, Coach, man, you guys you not only addressed some of the things that you were lacking last season, as you mentioned with Hakeem Hart and Ian Martinez leaving. Some guys could really fill it up and do a lot of different things, but my goodness, you've got size, you've got wing depth, you've got guard depth. I mean, is there anything that concerns you moving forward about your team and what could keep them from hitting their max potential?
No, I think you hit it on the head. I think we're really talented. We when you look at the roster, we joke about we really have 2 of everything. We have two bigs, 2 wings, 2 guards, 2 point guards, 2 shooting guards. I think the tricky part will be who we play. The rotation is going to get tricky. Obviously, early in the year we'll play 9 or 10 guys to kind of get a feel for who plays well and when we need to put guys in and subbing the patterns and stuff. But I think once we get that 7 or 8 guys that we're comfortable with, I think the sky's the limit for this team. They're really talented. It's probably the most talent we've had in here since the 2020 team we won it with the regular season. But yeah, we're excited. I think we're gonna have to play a little bit different, because we're gonna with you and Derek in there. We haven't played 2 bigs like that together, so that's kind of what we're working on right now. Coach spends the majority of July and August, watching film and trying to figure out what we're going to do offensively. I think that's something that I learned from Coach, which is great, is, he changes his offense every year based on personnel. And he spends a lot of time in the summer watching FIBA stuff, NBA stuff, other colleges. So we're all kind of digging into that stuff right now. But that'll be the biggest challenge for us as a staff is I think just how we're going to play this year because we do press, because we do play zone, matchup, man. So I think, when those two guys are out there, we're going to have to get a little tricky and kind of trying to change some things up. But, we're going to play the same way. We're going to get after it defensively, like I said. And I think we're, knock on wood, I think we'll be able to make a few more shots this year than we did last year.
Okay, that's great. I'm excited for you guys, man. We look at your non-conference slate, and you've got a challenging non-conference slate, but coach, the Big Ten. Talk to me about your feelings about the expansion of the already gauntlet Big Ten, but now it gets even crazier.
Yeah, I think it was great for the league to have those teams. When you talk about UCLA and USC and Oregon and Washington, all elite programs and all really good coaches. That's what this league's about, really, really good coaching. And those guys, Mick Cronin's elite. He's one of Coach's best friends. Eric Musselman, what he's done over the years, where every stop he's been, and the other guys as well. I mean, Dana Altman, just that guy, he's a great coach. They play 37 different defenses. They junk it up. So it's going to be challenging for the staff to, figure those teams out. But I think it's good for the league. It's really the only conference in the country that goes East Coast to West Coast. So the exposure we'll get now, you get all three major media markets when you talk about LA, New York, Washington, D.C. So it's challenging. You're playing 20 league games every year, and almost every one of those is a quad one game. So it's not easy. That's kind of why we scheduled the way we did. We meet about this a lot, and we look at teams from last year that got in and their net and RPI and all that kind of stuff. So we figured if we could get 3 really good games on our schedule outside of the Big Ten, that those 23 games are enough to get us where we want to be. And then 7 or 8 bye games. So it's challenging. We got Marquette at home, which another great coach, another great program.
Yep.
That should be a fun one. Second weekend, I believe it is, of the season, and then 2 neutral games against Villanova and Syracuse. So we're excited about it. It's not going to be easy, but I think this team's excited and ready for it.
Coach, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like Big Ten viewers to know?
No, I think we covered it all. I think our roster, like I said, our roster is great. You mentioned it. You kind of like what we pieced together. I think our fan base is excited for this team. I know we're excited. We just got finished our 8 weeks of summer workouts, so the guys get to go home for a little bit, but a little bit of a break for everybody. But we can't wait to get them back on campus and get this thing started.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Maryland assistant coach Greg Manning Jr. Coach, thank you. In 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? I got my man Rapheal Davis in the house with me. What's going on, Rapheal? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. Every day is a good one.
I know that's right. Hey, what's up with the shirt, bro? I love the shirt. I mean, give me the story behind that.
No, this is just a Father's Day gift from my wife, and it represents me because from first, I had 2 daughters first. So when you have 2 daughters, you're a girl dad. The emotions they go through. One of my daughters is 10, one of them is 5, and it's a lot. So nothing can rattle me when I got 2 daughters, and then now I got a boy in there. So it's I'm all rattle free.
Yeah, I see Ace. I see you in Ace's bedroom there. So you representing all the kids right now on the show. I love it. I love it. How's your summer been, man?
Everything went well. Everything is good. We're doing a bunch of stuff with the kids. We got a college trip this week. Going to UIC in DePaul. Then we're going up to Purdue next month. So it's all good. I can't complain. How you?
I'm great, man. Just I got a chance to go back to Illinois this past weekend. I saw them upset Kansas. There was a lucky charm somewhere in the building because I was surprised that they won that game. They got dominated time of possession. Kansas had some bad turnovers, but Illinois is lucky to pull it out.
No, that's what's up. Were you able to check out the basketball team at all?
You know what? I didn't because I don't think they were working out. I saw the coaching staff and some of the players at the game, but I didn't get a chance to see it. But I plan on going to check them out pretty soon. Yeah. We go ahead.
No, I'm excited for Illinois this year. I was actually watching some of this stuff this morning. I think if Kaspar's, I think he's got to be as good as advertised for Illinois to be able to make the hay they want to make. And Will Riley, I think when you build around two freshmen, it's tough. But if they're as good as advertised, it may make it a little bit easier. But I think I'm really excited to see what Illinois looks like. They're young with a little bit of mixture, with a little bit of maturity with Ty Rodgers in there. So I was thinking this morning about the roster, and there's a lot of guys to keep happy because Trey White not coming. You know what I mean? This is the guy that scored a ball, whether you win or you're not. When you're wired to score the ball, you're not coming to ride the bench. And you're not coming to defer to a freshman just because he's a freshman. And if I'm thinking about Will Riley, I'm not reclassing up coming to the school if I'm not playing as well. And then you got Ty Rodgers, the big dog in that, probably the best defender on the team. So he got to see some minutes. So I think that Ben Richards is in there. I think that 3-4 spot with Illinois will be extremely, extremely interesting this season.
Yeah, I agree. And then, you got Jake Davis in there as well. Yep. So, they're deep at the wing spot. It's going to be interesting. And, as you were saying that, Rapheal, I was thinking about, you got Trey Davis, who's a veteran. He's strong. He knows where the weight room is. Yep. Will Riley trying to get, his body right for this level. That's going to be interesting. That battle there, that's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. But no, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, let's get into it, man. I want to talk to you a little bit about NIL. The fact that BYU is now a player in the market. Like they were a tournament team this past season. Mark Pope in his last season at BYU got the Cougars to the NCAA tournament. And they had a really roster overhaul. They bring Mike Young, who is highly regarded from the NBA, comes in. And, man, they opened up an NIL war chest. Igor Demon is 6'8" point guard, kind of led the way in terms of guys coming into the fold. And so we saw Kanan Catchings, who was a Purdue commit, decommit for Purdue and now end up at BYU. Have you heard anything about BYU and their NIL prowess?
No, I haven't. I think with Cannings, it came down to because I wouldn't say he left Purdue for the NIL. I would say he wanted things to go a certain way, and at the point where Payne is in his career, he's not bending to a freshman, or he's not bending to anybody. So I think that was the case of why he left. That maybe some wishes just weren't fulfilled. But then you get into the portal, and then you kind of think the NIL space. And then I did hear that the boy did catch a nice little bag going to BYU, and I'm happy for him. I'm extremely happy for him. So I haven't heard any numbers or as far as the program, but when you hear things like that, it kind of catches your ear a little bit.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, Igor Demon, I think, got $2 million or close to $3 million in the portal. So BYU and other teams, we're going to see this now that may not be traditional blue bloods that will find their way into the conversations of top 25 programs consistently as long as they can raise these type of NIL funds. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm here for it. Speaking of NIL in the Big Ten, from my research, now this is only my research, Rapheal, I don't know about yours, but this is what I see in terms of the bigger bags in NIL in the Big Ten. Indiana's got the biggest, Illinois behind them, and in Michigan, I was surprised because I saw an article about NIL being raised for the football and men's basketball program, but that they're allotting over $3 million for the men's basketball program. So that would, I don't know if you heard that. What are your thoughts on the top three here?
No, I'm a little bit surprised that Michigan has caught on this fast, especially if it's gotten to that point. Because just a couple years ago, you hear Hunter Dickinson complaining about the NIL, complaining about what he was getting, and then he transfers and talks about how much more he was able to get, and he was All-American. So I am glad that Michigan is able to kind of up their NIL space, but I think because Michigan, you can have an NIL, but still when it comes down to Michigan, you got to be able to transfer in. You know what I mean? Because if you think about the academic side of Michigan, if you're not in a position to graduate, you think Caleb Love, you think Terrence Shannon, you think certain guys that could have been in that roster, NIL or not. The transfer rules there are kind of more strict. So you do fight one side of the battle with the NIL, but I think Dusty May is still gonna have a little bit because you couldn't even bring Davis with you this season. You know what I mean? Just because of the transfer rules into Michigan. So I like it there, but I have heard a bunch about Indiana. You think about the resources they have, the alum they have. you can kind of see it. I mean, Umar Ballo, you kind of hear the numbers that he was able to catch. I'm in Atlanta a bunch, so you're able to hear the numbers that Carlisle was able to catch being from Atlanta. So I was sitting in the barbershop and they were actually sitting here talking about it. So no, you hear Indiana, and then you see Illinois, you see a kid, one of the best players in the country, Will Riley. I mean, a bona fide, when you look at everything, should be one and done. Reclasses, comes to school early. I think some numbers were talked about there as well. So these are the three big dogs. I think this is where we're at, and you can kind of see by the talent that they're starting to bring in. I think Michigan is going to start to kind of trickle in over the next couple seasons.
It's interesting too, Rapheal. It great points in terms of Terrence Shannon Jr. and also Caleb Love, and then also Davis.
Jonell Davis. Yep.
Yeah, I always mess his first name up. Jonell ends up at Arkansas with, and we know Calipari's probably got one of the biggest bags in college basketball.
Right.
It was interesting though that Dusty May, I think that was probably one of the prerequisites for him taking the Michigan job, in that they were going to have to improve that NIL situation. Because you get handcuffed if you come to a place like Michigan. You don't have that NIL bag. I think that was part of the reason Jawan had such some struggles there. You mentioned Hunter Dickinson. You talk about Caleb Love. You talk about Terrence Shannon Jr. You talk about those guys being on that Michigan roster. It may be a situation where Jawan is still the head coach of Michigan.
You put Terrence Shannon on that roster. He would have been on the roster with Jet and those guys.
Yep.
I mean, you had Terrence Shannon into a roster that had 2 first-round draft picks and an All-American big man.
Yep.
I mean, that's all. Sometimes you are. I mean, sometimes it sounds simple. You could play what ifs and ifs was a fifth, but sometimes it's as simple as getting one piece. And Terrence Shannon would have been that one piece to that team that's all they needed. And then even if he does stay a year and say it, I mean, I'm reaching, but that next season you get another piece in Caleb Love, and that's the game. That's the name of the game right now. If you can get transfers, you can get them in. You got to actually get them there. But if you have the NIL, that's half of it. But you got to actually get them to campus. So I think Jonell Davis, I think he really loved playing for Coach May. I think that was his guy. I think he was loyal to him. I think he wanted to go play for him. I think guys that are under recruited out of high school, sometimes they get an opportunity and then they blow up. They got a lot of loyalty to that coach sometimes. I think if he would have if he was able to transfer in, I think he would have went. So, and now you hear the numbers they had to NIL to bring them. It just was about being able to get them in academically.
No, that's a very good point, Rapheal. And think about Caleb Love, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Hunter Dickinson.
That's crazy.
On a roster, and
then you allow the freshmen to be freshmen, because I mean Michigan at a time, I mean 2 classes in a row they brought in freshmen that had to produce in order to win.
Yeah.
But you were able to bring in a veteran leader, a guy that can come in and affect winning. I think sometimes people don't really understand that when you come into a program, it's good. That's why it's good for freshmen to be freshmen. That's why when Kentucky were having all that success with their freshmen, they always had upperclassmen in there. You even look at that 2015 team, Willie Cauley-Stein was upperclassman. You go back to the earlier years, 2012, they had Deron Lamb, and they had Patrick Peterson.
Jones was in there too, right?
Terrence Jones was in there. He's a sophomore. So I think when freshmen are able to be freshmen, they're more comfortable, and then they're able to excel that next year when it's able to take the reins. So I mean, I think that Michigan, we'd be talking about a whole different story.
No doubt. So here's what my question is: where does Rutgers rank in Big Ten NIL? Because look, man, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. I know Dylan Harper may have had some family ties and some love there, but Ace Bailey, come on, man. Like, how do you get 2 of the top 3 incoming freshmen if you're not have a big NIL bag? Am I missing something there, Rapheal?
No, that's the same thing I thought. And then you add in Tyson Acuff, a guy that was top 10 in scoring last season at the mid-major Eastern Michigan.
Yep.
I mean, he probably was not even necessarily him personally, but the numbers he put up, his style of play, his ability to score the ball, it demands a certain amount of NIL. So I think Rutgers has got to be right there. I don't know. I haven't heard any numbers, but you bring Ace Bailey, I know he was friends with Jermichael Davis, but I mean, the friendship goes a long way, but he's talking about a one and done and coming from Atlanta, coming to Jersey, even Dylan Harper, although his family at Rutgers, his father is who he is. I mean, he's still number 2 and number 3 players in the country. You gotta pay your way, I guess, at this point in the game. So I think they're right there in that mix. Maybe not being talked about as much because the brand of Rutgers basketball isn't the same as the Indiana's. But I think Rutgers has got to be in that mix as well. Because I mean, even if you look at the high school kids that they're recruiting now, you look at the kids that are coming out with their top 5 rankings or their top 7 rankings, and Rutgers is in there. So they've got to have some headway there with the younger recruits, and now they're kind of turning it into that brand where they're really in the mix.
Yeah, that's good intel because those high school kids, all of them talk to each other. All of them know each other.
Yeah,
they know what players are getting.
Yeah, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, they're probably, I mean, when you're that ranked and that highly ranked, you're pretty influential in that space. And if you hear 1 or 2 things and they say, "Oh, I like it over here with Pikel," that could change the next 4 or 5 years of recruiting.
Yeah, and this is good, Rapheal. I'm so glad that we're having this discussion because a lot of Big Ten fans, they want to be stuck in the pre-NIL era. And let's just be honest, guys, like it's the biggest bag doesn't win out all the time, but it is a lot. It has a lot to do with guys making their decisions on where they go and play. That's just what it is. And, do you agree with that?
Yeah, it just is what it is. I mean, because you may not even be thinking about a school, but not everybody is in a great financial situation. So if you hear a number, it's one of those things where you got to listen. Some of the situations, you got to listen to it. And then you may not have been thinking about that school because you may not have known that brand, but then you hit it off with the assistant. You hit it off with a couple players on the roster. But I think if you come with a certain NIL space, it gets you in any conversation with any player, no matter what's going on. I say it gets you in any conversation. It gets you at least a phone call.
It has to, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I really want to break this down for our viewers. I'm not going to be long with this, but when you think about a parent and the amount of money and time that they invest, in these kids, man, and when they get earmarked, maybe 7th, 8th grade, like, okay, this kid's got a chance.
Yeah.
The amount of resources and time that has to go into this player. Parents are trying to recoup some of that investment. They want the best for their children, but like you said, there might be some situations where people come from tough financial situations, and this is going to be a windfall, not only for the player, but for the family. So I just want people to, because Bardo's breakdown, we have our audience skews a little bit older, and they want to hold on to the old school stuff. And I'm telling them, like, guys, there's nothing wrong with the players seeking to maximize their potential in terms of financially. I like the fact that these guys are getting these opportunities. I just want people to understand it's not all about the bag, but it's a lot more than what it is, way more than what it used to be. And so we need to accept it.
And that's with anybody. I think if we got a call tomorrow and somebody offered us quadruple what we were making, you hear them out. I think if you look at Coach Underwood, Coach Painter, I remember this time where people were talking about Missouri was going to pay Coach Paint more than Purdue was going to pay him, and he was thinking about going. I mean, although he said it wasn't true, but you still have that conversation. Even though you're not going, you still hear it out. You still give respect to it. So I think someone calls somebody's phone and they say your son is good enough and we may pay him upwards $300,000, $400,000 for one season of basketball. I mean, you better be in a real good position not to hear it out.
I agree. And
then if you don't like it, if it comes with stuff or you don't like it and you get to campus and it's not what you want, you don't want your kid in that environment, I understand at that point, but you hear it out a little bit.
That's right. I mean, because let's take John Calipari, for example. You leave Kentucky?
Yeah.
Go to Arkansas?
Yeah.
Come on now. Yeah, and CBS Sports did a really good survey. I think they talked to over 100 college coaches, and the majority of them said that Arkansas's got the biggest NIL bag, followed by Kansas. Yep. So, I mean, if the coaches could do it, why can't the players do it, right?
And that's what I said. And that's what I said. I think players are at the point where they're thinking about themselves in a sense, and not necessarily. You think about the guys that left Kentucky to go with Coach Calipari to Arkansas. I mean, they want to go be with the coach. I think players have, loyalty to certain things now. They're not looking up when they come to campus and seeing the banners and being impressed anymore. Now that's not. I mean, I love Indiana and the 5 banners, but I don't know if Umar Bardo came and said, "Oh, those 5 banners, I'm coming." I think a little bit had to do with that NIL that he was able to attain. So I think it's just the game that we're in. I think if anybody is not understanding it, you just got to put yourself in that situation, because you're not thinking that college sports is a job is a big misconception, because it is a job. It's very demanding. I had a child in school. My oldest child was born my sophomore year, and you're not able to get a summer job and pay for diapers or formula or anything like that. You have to kind of scrape through. So for these people to be able to, the kids now, the athletes now, to be able to be in a position they're in now, I think it's big time. And I think you got to be able to, and then also you hear a number, it kind of lets you know in your head, maybe this is my value. So then you know somebody, when they lowball you, is kind of what's going on.
Hey, preach, Rapheal. And that's good insight about you having your daughter while you were at Purdue. That's tremendous insight there. Thank you for sharing that. So, like, we talk about these different programs, and so Purdue, there's an NIL store. Yep. Where they track the 40 schools that are a part of this NIL store. Purdue was #1 in sales all season long last year. Out of the top 10 schools, 6 of them were Big Ten programs, but Purdue was #1 throughout the year. So they were able to generate NIL money through the sales of merchandise and what those players are doing. Give me the scenario of how Purdue is able to compete with NIL with everybody else, but maybe not going the route that Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan have gone.
Yeah, point one, I would say, and just knowing Paint and the staff, they're not trying to compete.
Right.
I think Paint has numbers that are in it. Maybe it's not even Paint. Maybe whoever is handling it, they have numbers in their head of who gets what and whose value is what. But if you come to Purdue, you come to Purdue because you want to be there. That's kind of first and foremost. You're not coming to Purdue for NIL. You're not coming to Purdue to start. I think I didn't talk to Kenyon Catches, but I think he wanted to play a certain amount of minutes, and you're not demanding anything at Purdue. So I would say when it comes to Purdue, I think the way Paint and the guys are able to keep it fair through the collectives and whatnot is everybody on the roster gets something. Whether you're Zach Edey, whether you're a walk-on on the team, you're going to start as, I guess I would call it a base level. Whereas though when it comes to Purdue, if I'm a Purdue collective, I'm not saying I just want to give my money to Braden Smith. If I'm coming, the team is divvying this up. And then from there, you go get your own deals. There from the store, you work your store. You make yourself valuable on social media. You go out with the agent, you go get your own deals from there. But I think Payne is able to keep the locker room in a space where everyone gets something. And then if you're worth what you think you're worth in your head, go get it. Go show yourself. But I think as far as getting there, I've heard conversations where someone's come with a number and they're not coming. So I think that conversation ends at the door. And I think that's where because Payne had a season where he did bend to what was going on in the social norms and with college basketball. We finished last place in Big Ten. And I don't think he's going back there for no reason at all. I think he'd rather get fired than start doing what people tell him to do.
I love that. Because it's a different way of doing business, right? Yeah. So everybody gets there's a baseline amount everybody gets, and then you can get whatever you can get on above and beyond that. Yeah. I believe Michigan State is in a similar situation where they kind of do, there's a base that everybody's going to get something. And then, maybe certain guys get a little bit more based on their, like you said, their social media presence, prowess, or what local, the collective or local companies or organizations want to do with particular players. So
you even see like, I better cut you off, but you see Miles Colvin. I mean, Miles Colvin's done a tremendous job. I mean, he went out and wrote a book. So I think the guys he wrote a children's book. So yeah, Miles has a children's book that sold out. It was a national bestseller. I know the first week it sold out, and I saw things like that. I think you look at Purdue and the alum and what they have to offer around the program. I think that's more of what you go to Purdue for and kind of the benefits because it'll work out for you. Paint's not gonna hold your hand and get you paid. Go get yourself paid.
You know what, man? Now let's dive into that a little bit more. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. So to me, that's what college should be about.
Yep.
because Miles is thinking outside the box. Let me have something to sell.
Yep.
If I have a product or service or whatever to sell, then I'm not capped. My only cap is how much I can sell.
Yep.
Miles
and Miles. It's a children's book. There it is. I'll show you on the screen.
Oh, oh man, look at that. That is tremendous.
Yeah, big time.
And that's what, to me, that's what college should be about. If you're an economics major or finance major, how better to learn finance than you create a product and you go out and sell it and get profit from it?
Yep.
I mean, that's what capitalism is all about, right?
Yep. And I think that's what true NIL space is all about. I think it's you come in and you get something, but then you're able to go out and really use your name, use your value. Because you think about Miles and his ability, his athleticism, and the kids that look up to him, not able to go get a book, and he's able to have not just if Miles turns his ankle tomorrow and never play basketball again, he's still able to feed himself. So I think that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. I think the kids that come in and use the NIL the correct way. I have a little cousin, just went to the Final Four with NC State. And I'm telling them repeatedly, use it the right way. Use it the right way. So basketball or not, you're still able to be functional after all this stops. A lot of these kids don't realize that you're getting 400,000, 200,000, maybe 100,000. When you go to Budapest or you go to Germany somewhere and you're not a first round or second round draft pick, you don't have an NBA tag, you're not all American, you're not all conference, and you're getting paid $800 a month, $1,000 a month. I think that if you have a bigger savings, that doesn't hurt you as much, because a lot of kids don't realize not everybody goes overseas and makes 100,000. Some of us go overseas and get 30,000 that first year. So I think the NIL is good to be able to build the players up with a certain nest egg.
Boy, Rapheal, I'm gonna tell you something, boy. You could start a consultancy company right now. A bunch of these cats out, man, because to think that to go with that mentality to play overseas, which I played. Did you play overseas, Rapheal?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, so I was over there a bunch, and so to not have the financial pressure when you're going to try to establish yourself and maybe get in the country and move up in that country. Yep. Oh man, to have that NIL or that product or service is fantastic.
Yeah, because that was one of the reasons I came home, because I had a daughter. I had already went 4 years of school, and her mom, didn't have the most money in the world. So it's at the point where now I'm out. I've been using the college excuse for a while. Now I'm out of college. I can't still be broke. So you know what I mean? Then I had to go get a real job, because you go overseas, and if you're not a guy already coming over there, you got to really prove yourself to work yourself up. And like you said, if you use this NIL space right, you can really go and live your life to the best ability.
Shoot, we gotta figure out a name for the Rapheal Davis consultancy. Shoot, that's what time it is right there, boy. That's good stuff. All right, let's transition, man. For those that don't know, the Blue Ribbon College Basketball Report is kind of the Bible for college basketball people like us, right? So we look, there's Liddies, there's Blue Ribbon, there's a few others out there, but Blue Ribbon kind of is the gold standard from the perspective of a lot of people that work inside the industry. So we're looking at the Blue Ribbon rankings. And so they have Indiana 1, Illinois 2, Purdue 3, UCLA 4, Ohio State 5, Michigan State 6, Oregon 7, USC 8, Michigan 9, and Washington 10. At first glance, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's tough. I think at first glance, I guess to me, not seeing Rutgers, and you think about who they're bringing in, and think about returning Jeremiah Williams, I think a lot of people aren't necessarily thinking about Rutgers, and I think about Maryland. I think bringing back Julian Reese, you get Derek Queen, you bring in some guys that can really score the ball. I think Maryland's a team that should really be thought about. But I think Indiana is a team. I think Indiana should win the league. I would go with Purdue, probably 1 or 2, but I would go Indiana to win the league. And then from there, I think for the Big Ten, 2 to 12, I think is going to really be interesting this season. I think the last couple seasons you've had we got Purdue and everybody else. Well, now it's one of those things where Indiana, everybody knows they have the talent. Everybody knows they have the roster, but can they put it together? But then it's really everybody else, and what does everybody else have? So I think a lot of I will keep Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan State in there. I'm not real sold on Ohio State. I think Bruce Thornton is he's a really good talent. I think he's really talented. I think he's going to be able to score the ball. But Bruce Thornton and Michie Johnson, I'm not sold on that backcourt yet. I'm not sold on having enough basketballs to go around. I think Sean Stewart is a physical body, is a big body. He was highly talented out of high school, but I don't know if he's a scorer per se on a wing, a guy that you can get a ball to in space, say go get your own bucket. And I think in the Big Ten this season, you're going to have to put up big points to be able to compete to win the league. So I'm not too sold on Ohio State there. I'm not too sold on Washington at 10 either.
I agree. My thing is, so yeah, at my first glance, okay, where's Wisconsin?
Right. Yeah.
10 upperclassmen. Whenever Wisconsin is old, they're typically top 4. Now, Will they be top 4 this year? I don't know, but I definitely have them top 6.
Yeah.
No,
I think especially you think about how Wisconsin plays and new teams coming in the league, Wisconsin being older, having guys that's been around the program, having guys that have opportunity to take that leap. I think Wisconsin is, because you look at John Blackwell. I think John Blackwell is a guy where talking about freshman to sophomore. I think he isn't handcuffed per se. I think he's a guy that can really take a leap into a guy that can be a leader on that team. So I like Wisconsin always to be finished, especially top 10 in the league.
And so there's a guy in Terrence Oglesby that Rapheal and I both respect. We respect his work. I'm going to show you guys. Let's see. Let me pull up what he put on Twitter. And so this is kind of small, ladies and gentlemen, but if you kind of squint, let me see if I can I open? Is that better?
I can see it. I mean, it's a little small, but I can check it out.
Okay, so Terrence Oglesby, similar to somebody in Vegas, has Michigan State to win the Big Ten. Now, Frankie Fiddler can ball. I get it. The transfer coming in. I don't see the rest of the roster being able to be a Big Ten favorite. Am I missing something?
I don't see it. And I know Terrence, this is something that he does, through and through, year after year, and for conference after conference. And it's a thing where he puts a lot of time into it. But I don't know if Frankie Fiddler was the piece to necessarily get Michigan State over the hump. Because when I think the team that wins the Big Ten, I think a team that you win the Big Ten, you're in position to go and play for a Final Four, get to Elite Eight. And I don't know if Frankie Fiddler is the guy that gets this squad over the hump. After watching them overseas, I don't see that big of a physicality jump from Xavier Booker. Something that Coach Izzo was really wanting from him. And then Jay Nakins, this is the season where he's going to have to prove he can be the guy. The last couple seasons, Coach Izzo has really raved about him being talented. Now he's sliding back to more of a natural position at the 2 guard. But he's going to have to be extremely consistent and go to score the basketball, be a leader on that team. And then Fears, after coming off of a gunshot wound, blessed to be able to play the game again. You just kind of question that there as well. So I think Michigan State has a lot of question marks compared to you think Purdue, Indiana, when you put them number 1 in the league. And then even Michigan at 5 is tough to me. I don't see it for. I think they brought in some talent. You think Golden and Wolf, and you think of Roddy Gale, but I don't necessarily see Michigan at 5 either.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by some of these rankings. Like you said, Michigan's a little high there. I thought, I like the fact that he has Rutgers in the top 8. Yeah. UCLA is a little low for me at number 9.
I actually agree with the UCLA. I think the backcourt is strong. I think Dylan Andrews, again, I think similar to Ohio State, Dylan Andrews and Sky Clark being able to exist in the backcourt is going to be interesting. Playing kind of a small guard lineup in the league. But then I think it's still, no matter who comes into the league, it's still the Big Ten. You still got to go get a rebound. And I think UCLA at their 4th, that's why I'm so high on Maryland, because when it comes to the league, to Big Ten play, majority of these teams, you're going to have to play half-court basketball against great teams, and you're going to have to go get a rebound. I think you think about Julian Reese, Derek Queen, Geronimo, and those guys being able to control the glass. If their guards are able to do their part, I think that's what breeds success in the Big Ten. Is you can't just have really good guard play and get out rebounded by 10, 12 on the glass every single night.
No, that's a good point. And, he's got Maryland down at 13. And I think John Rothstein had Maryland like top 6 or 7, and I'm a proponent of John. He does his work as well, but it's just fascinating. And this is going to be I don't know if this is going to be a harbinger of things to come for the season and how unpredictable it's going to be. But I've rarely, in years past, Rapheal, I haven't seen this much variance.
Yeah.
In terms of who thinks is going to, who's favored to win, who's going to be in the bottom 8. It's crazy. And so,
and I don't see anybody talking about me. You think Nebraska? I think Nebraska has a chance to be in the top 10. You think about Bryce Williams being able to take a jump, Juwan Gary, Rick Mass. They're bringing back their core. I know you lose Keisei Tominaga, but Connor Season has enough game to kind of fill in that shooter spot. I mean, Connor Season can shoot the basketball. Even Gavin Griffiths, coming out of high school, is a really talented shooter. It doesn't always translate for freshmen. So if he's been in the gym shooting the ball, getting his shots up, I think Nebraska's a team that could be talked about. You think about Penn State last season, once they started clicking, they were a big man away of really making some impact. Yes. So I know that they addressed their need. They bring in 2 bigs that probably will be able to split some time. If their big is able to, you think of the 2 of them combined, if they're able to average as a combination 18 and 10 or 16 and 12, Penn State may be off to the races. Because, I mean, Ace Baldwin's no slouch, we know, but Nick Kern, Zach Hicks, Puff Johnson, those guys are back. I mean, they're going to be a bigger, longer team. So if they're able to have consistency at the 5, I mean, and DeMarco Dunn is in there, I like Penn State as well.
Yeah, and I think Eli Rice, the transfer coming in from Nebraska to Penn State, I think he's gonna be an X factor for them as well. So I'm with you, man. I think Penn State is gonna be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. So it's gonna be a crazy ride, man. We got some All-Americans. According to Blue Ribbon, there's 3 of them. Braden Smith from Purdue is the 2nd team, and then on the 4th team, both Umar Ballo and Great Osabor from Washington were on there. My thing is, I know Cooper Flagg. He's gone to Team USA basketball and done some stuff playing against the pros and whatnot. Yeah. And he's one of the All-Americans. But Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper gets any love on that? What is that, Rapheal?
That's just Rutgers not having a big brand. Coach Pike really not trying to. Coach Pike was a guy that's about his business. The guy's going to do the work and show it on the floor. He's not going to necessarily try to push the guys through the media. That's not his job, man. Rutgers as a program doesn't have that much juice behind it in the national. I know they're in New Jersey, right there in the media space with New York, but no one looks at Rutgers and thinks basketball powerhouse.
True.
So I think Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, you think of next year's draft projected to go 2 and 3 in the draft. So I think they should have been showed a little bit of love. I think if they go to a bigger market school, I think they maybe make an All-American team. I had a little bit of an issue with Braden Smith being 2nd team. I may be the only guy, and I know the guys are good, but you beat some of those guys head to head. I mean, I know head to head, guard to guard, you beat some of those guys on that 1st team. So I think Braden Smith should have got a look there, but I'm excited. But I think Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, you think if Cooper Flagg is getting that same love, I think those 2 guys are more than talented enough to be in that conversation as well. Because Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, you roll the ball out. I'm not saying it's just one-sided to Cooper Flagg. Ace Bailey is a guy that can go and is a dog. So I think any conversation where it's being talked about and Cooper Flagg is in it, I think Ace Bailey should be in it. And then I think Dylan Harper will be a guy that by the end of the season, we're saying he's one of the best guards in the country, no matter what's going on.
Yeah, when I look at Cooper Flagg versus Ace Bailey, like you just mentioned, Rapheal, I see Ace having more offensive game.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
Cooper Flagg is a great defensive player. I don't know if Ace is able to commit as consistently on the defensive end as Cooper. I think that might be the thing that gets Cooper over the top, that he is a committed defensive dog. But on the offensive end, Ace Bailey, come on now. I mean –
I agree. 100%. When it comes to having a bag and being that size, being able to go get your own shot at the rim or from 3 and being able to pull up over guys, get to a spot and make a jumper, I think Ace Bailey has all of that there. I think with Cooper Flagg, when it talks about affecting the game without the ball in your hands, I think I called one of his games in high school, and I felt as though he was the best player on the floor. He dominated the game. He had 7 points, but he had 15 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 blocks, 3 steals. Like, he's a guy that he can go get you 20, but if he doesn't have it going, he's not going to force it, but he's going to go do everything else. You're not going to have to yell at Cooper Flag for going hard. You're not going to have to tell him to go get a rebound. I remember it was a game where, because I called a bunch of the high school games, it was a game where he wasn't necessarily rebounding. He wasn't going in there and getting it, because he played with Derek Queen and those dudes. So
Sure.
he was cleaning up the glass. But Asa Newell went to Georgia and whatnot, but his mother came from the stands and like grabbed him by the jersey and told him to go get a rebound. So I think when it comes to what you want out of because his mom played ball and all that. So when it comes to what you want out of a basketball player, Cooper Flag has it. But then when it comes to the bag, Cooper Flag has the bag as well, but he has just everything else. But I think Ace Bailey, he has the offensive game. He can block shots, but I don't know if he plays as hard as Cooper Flag on every single possession. And I think that may be kind of a difference.
Great breakdown there.
Cooper Flag is like, to me, he's like Andre Karolinko with an offensive game. You think Andre Karolinko that can go get you a 3, go get you a bucket? I mean, go play hard, go rebound. It's crazy to see it all in one package.
Yep. Oh, it's a great breakdown there. Anything else you want to share, man, that we didn't get to today, Rapheal?
No, I'm all good. I'm glad we got to mention Nebraska, Penn State, Wisconsin, because those 3 teams. Obviously, we got new teams coming into the league, and even Iowa with Sanford and Owen Freeman. I think Brock Harding's gonna make a jump. You think Josh Dix? If some of these teams, if they're able to get some bench production, I think their core. Because I would take Iowa's core. I would take Nebraska's core with Juwan Gary, Rink Mass, and Bryce Williams over the likes of USC's core or over the likes of UCLA's core, just because they don't necessarily have one yet.
Yeah.
Then it's all about bench production at that point.
No, I like that, what you just said, Rapheal, because there's a lot of unknown with UCLA and USC, right? We know that Kobe Johnson coming from wait a minute. He came from USC. He's at UCLA.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We know what he did at USC. He talked about Dylan Andrews. We forgot to mention Sebastian Mack.
Yep.
Because he can go. But we don't know what that's going to look like because they have so many moving parts. Where you're talking about with Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, even Penn State, they've got that core intact.
Yep. And
they kind of know what they're working with. So it's going to be
Iowa's playing for something. When you look at Iowa missing the tournament, coming back, grouping back together, had some guys leave. Payne Sanders out there playing for something. They know how things are going to go. They've been right there to the point. They kind of winning basketball is not that far off for them. When you think of those guys, all those guards at UCLA, they haven't won yet. They just kind of been putting up empty stats. And for me, I'm taking guys that kind of fought through some trenches, kind of put up stats to kind of maybe win some games, a little bit more games, whereas though some guys kind of came into their own at the end.
No, great stuff, man. Great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, now you understand why I try to get Rapheal on as much as possible, man. This dude kills it on Big Ten Network. He's killing on Bardo's breakdown. Rapheal, thanks so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, no, I appreciate you having me on anytime.
All right. All right. So there you have it, guys. Special thank you to Maryland assistant Greg Manning Jr. Great job getting me excited about the Terps. And then Rapheal Davis and me chopping it up about the Big Ten, the Blue Ribbon rankings, and the NIL conversation. Love having my man Rapheal on with me. We got a rumor to get to, but let me run through this top 50 players ever really quickly because we got to give them their love. Let me see. Where are we? Here we go. All right. So first up, I don't really have to say anything about Isaiah Thomas, one of the best players to ever play the game. You see the stats right there. Most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament. He won the national championship, first-team All-American, 2-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer. What happened there? Okay, there we go. So Isaiah Thomas speaks for himself, right? Next up, Michael Thompson, 2-time All-American, 1977. Klay Thompson's father, you young folks don't know that, first-team All-American, three-time All Big Ten first team selection, and created quite a dynamic duo when he and Kevin McHale were both Minnesota Gophers, if you can believe that or not. Two outstanding bigs playing together. Now, a lot of young people didn't know this. Rudy Tomjanovich was a baller at Michigan, right? Most people know him as the two-time NBA head coach, two-time NBA champion head coach, Houston Rockets. But he was a baller at Michigan, third-team All-American in 1970, two-time first-team All-Big Ten, and five-time NBA All-Star. Rudy Tomjanovich, as good of a player maybe as he was as a coach, a proud Michigan Wolverine there. Orlando Tucker, a little bit more recent, he and Evan Turner, but Orlando Tucker, first-team All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year, 2007, same time, two-time All-Big Ten, and then he's the all-time leading scorer in Badgers history. Orlando Tucker was also on the staff here a few years ago with the Wisconsin Badgers. And last but certainly not least, I think maybe the most versatile player to grace the Big Ten floor. I don't know if you can name another more versatile player than Evan Turner. National Player of the Year, Big Ten Player of the Year 2010, and also the number 2 pick overall in the 2010 NBA draft by the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, I want to run through that quickly because, guys, we've got some rumors out now that have hit. One of Bardo's breakdowns tribe members, longtime tribe member, just saw on Facebook rumor Tim Anderson leaving Illinois. Now, some other outlets are kind of talking about this. I briefly watched a breakdown from another platform that was talking about the rumors. They could not substantiate it. I can't either. I did not see Tim at the football game, but I didn't see all the coaching staff. I only saw Brad, Orlando, and Jeff. I didn't see everybody. Didn't see the players either. But there's rumors out there that Tim Anderson may be leaving Illinois. When I find out and make sure, because you guys know I don't jump out and throw rumors out or anything like that. So when I get the information, maybe I'll call Tim and see if I can track him down. But if that is the case, I hope that's not the case. Because I think Tim is an integral part of what Brad Underwood has been able to build, especially recently with that program. He was a confidant to Terrence Shannon Jr. That's one of the reasons Terrence got to Illinois. Main reason is because of Tim Anderson. If you guys remember Tim on his interview here with us on Bardo's Breakdown, he talked about his love for Luke Goody. He called him one of his babies, right? So Tim has tremendous relationships with these players, and let's just hope it's a rumor and not true. And I'll do my best to figure out what I hear. CDNIU says, is he going to Memphis? I wouldn't think there would be many openings this late in the year. Ironically, Memphis just got Nolan Smith, the former Duke great. He's coming on the Memphis staff with Penny Hardaway down at Memphis. I saw that earlier today. So one person that is going to Memphis is Nolan Smith. Also, Mike Davis, who was a former head coach at Detroit Mercy, my former teammate in the CBA with the Wichita Falls, Texas. Love Mike Davis. He's also on the staff at Memphis. So I do know that for certain. I do not know if Tim is leaving or not. That's a rumor, and I'm not going to substantiate it because I don't have the information. M. Bratz, I hate to be all, but we can't do without Tim. Okay, so a lot of people are feeling Tim's presence. Angelo Ondason. I don't know if it's your first time, Angelo. If it is, welcome to Bardo's Breakdown. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys tuning in. So we'll see. Doug Peterson, you and TJ Wheeler, best inbound passers I've seen in Illinois history. I was with TJ Saturday at the football game against Kansas. I was there in the house. Ryan Baker, Deion Thomas obviously works with DIA. Gene Cross, myself, Mark Chaplin, and TJ Wheeler. We had a blast. And pretty good football game too. Congratulations to the Illinois football team. They did their thing. Let's see what else. Thomas Dagley, tribe member, reading TA leaving Illinois, heard anything. Now I have only some of the things, the rumors that you guys have heard as well. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition. Those things they may take some time, but sometimes where there's smoke, there may be fire. We'll see. I'll keep my nose to the grind. I'll try to make a few phone calls and see if I can get some stuff on here as well. Carol Poe-Paquette, same thing. Bunch of rumors out there, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, Philip, I got with Rapheal a little bit earlier today. I know I sounded like I was in a tunnel. I got to figure that out. I don't know why my mic and my sound was sounding like that, but I got to figure that out. That didn't sound as good as I would have preferred to. Hope I'm sounding okay coming through to you all right now. Okay, CDNIU said he's going to Kansas City to check out the Illinois-Arkansas game. That ought to be outstanding. John L. Davis, Thomas Love's older brother, Ivasic playing for Arkansas. That ought to be fun. A lot of fun. So, Curtis, I hope you really, really enjoy yourself there. All right, let's see. He said, who made a better pass, you or TJ Wheeler? Was that discussed this past weekend? No, Curtis. We generally don't. It's interesting. With that group of guys that was together this past weekend, there weren't a whole lot of stories being told. It's more like what's going on today, our feelings on the program, maybe how we feel about this collection of talent. I think I saw Ben Humrickhouse, Jake Davis. Oh, and my man AJ Red. That's my guy. That's a family friend. I did get a chance to chop it up with him and give him a big hug and talk to him for a little bit. But I didn't see the other guys. But I think, as former players, we're really interested in seeing what the Big Ten is going to look like with these 4 new teams coming in, and just how the team is going to gel, because there's a lot of talent. I know Tom Crean has been in to watch some of the workouts with Illinois, and from what I'm hearing from the coaches, they think they've got 4 or 5 potential NBA guys, not pros, not just guys who can go overseas, 4 or 5 potential NBA players on this roster. So there's a ton of excitement. A lot of people wanting to see what this iteration of the line are going to look like. And so, that I think that dominates our conversation more than us, talking crap on each other as well, digging each other a little bit. So a lot of fun. Doug Pearson said, I'm all in on NIL. Should have happened a long time ago, and I'm not young. There you go, Doug. I feel you, my man. M. Brotz, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I appreciate it. Remember, guys, if you haven't signed up for the inner circle that is Bardo's Breakdown, go to bardostribe.com. Get your free copy of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology. The guide to the new Big Ten is coming soon. That will be the new lead magnet for Bardo's Tribe. So we're still rocking with this Triple Threat. It's still a great guide. You'll have a lot of fun with it. So go to bardostribe.com and get your free copy. All right. Let me go back to the. Thank you, Captain. I'm glad you tuned in. Guys, you're not going to go anywhere online where you can get not 1, but 2 former defensive players of the year in the Big Ten. 2 guys that work network television covering the game that played the game. You're not going to get that anywhere else. I know Field of 68 has some guys on there and whatnot, and they talk more globally. They talk more nationally. Me and Rapheal, we talk a little nationally, but we're really more focused on the Big Ten. You're not going to get this combination anywhere else online than right here on Bardo's Breakdown. So make sure you consider joining the tribe. Go to bardostribe.com, because that's the inner circle. And when I do my newsletters, I give a lot of information that I don't give on Bardo's Breakdown, because we want to protect folks, and but I give names a lot more on the newsletter. So make sure you go to bardostribe.com and sign up for the newsletter. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate your support, my man. Good to see you on here. Curtis Dietz was an interesting one. A lot of Indiana fans have told me that the 1980 team was better than the 81 team. Do you think that? I thought Mike Woodson got injured in 1980. Mike Woodson and Isaiah Thomas were in that backcourt on that 1980 team. That 1980 team was loaded. Randy Whitman, Ted Kitchell, Landon Turner, Ray. I think Ray Tolbert was on that squad as well. They were loaded, as was the 81 team. And I do know that Woodson played through a knee injury. And so they very well may have, Curtis, because look, from 75, 76 through 81, Indiana was as dominant as any team in college basketball. So every year they were in the hunt. They were in the mix. So I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Chad also said, what former teammate from your time in the NBA was much better or skilled than you originally thought? What former teammate in your time in the NBA? Are you talking about NBA teammates, or are you talking about Illinois teammates that made it to the NBA? Because if you're talking about NBA teammates, boy, I had Grant Hill, Allen Houston, Joe Dumars, Otis Thorpe, Terry Mills, Derek Harper, Doug Smith from Missouri, Terry Cummings, David Robinson, Sean Elliott, in my coffee breaks for the San Antonio Spurs. So can you be a little bit more clear, Chad, on that? Good question, though. Yeah, Thomas Rapheal does an excellent job. And the thing is, I like that he's younger. Like, he represents the younger generation. And so you guys, he's a wealth of information. I didn't know that his daughter, his firstborn, she came when he was a sophomore at Purdue. Think about the pressure on that. Think about, I was a nut in college. I could barely take care of myself, let alone a child. So that gives you some really good insight and background about Rapheal and who he is as a man. So thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. And he wants to keep coming on weekly. So you know me, I'm gonna have him on as much as he wants, because he is a wealth of information. Carol, yeah, you would like to be a mouse, but your ears would probably cringe half the time, because I don't care. He doesn't care either. TJ Wheeler, you think Dick Nagy used to curse? Oh my gosh. We can't have kids around TJ Wheeler, because he's got some expletives that I think he even created that are unreal. So yeah, we have some fun times and fun stories, and we talk smack on each other. So it would be fun. You would have a lot of good time. Denise, I would. Wait a minute. Why is that not coming up? Okay, technology. Come on. There we go. Love Rapheal. Watch him on Big Ten. Great interview. He always has great insights. Yes, he does, Denise. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad that you guys are getting something from these shows, because I put a lot of effort into bringing the assistant coaches, getting them interviewed, trying to line up times and do all that stuff, and then trying to line up times with Rapheal, because he's as busy as I am. So I appreciate that you guys appreciate what you're getting, because you're not going to get this anywhere else. You know what, Carol? I've got some insight here. It's interesting, and it's unfortunate, because Indiana's not the only program that this happens to. It happens around the country some. Certain guys get disenfranchised with the program. And so when you have a guy as dominant as Bobby Knight was, and the relationships that Bobby Knight made with his players, and then you have coaching changes. And so sometimes players, for various reasons, may not feel as welcome back with the program, right? I'll give you Scott May, for example. His son played at North Carolina. And when his son came, I think North Carolina played at Indiana, the fans lit him up, right? I mean, lit him up to the point where I don't think Scott May has been back. I don't think he's been back in the building since. And he lives in the area. But you're talking about one of the greatest players to ever put on an Indiana uniform. But the fact that the Indiana fans, being passionate fans, they're very knowledgeable, very passionate fans. They're having fun. They're maybe mad that his son didn't come to Indiana, right? A lot of people were thinking that he should have come to Indiana. Well, it's his son. It's his journey. He chose to go to North Carolina. And the fact that those fans were, in Scott May's mind, vicious towards his son, that's irreparable. And if my son played college basketball and he was at a different school and he came back to Illinois and the fans were on his behind, like according to what I heard, I wouldn't step foot in State Farm Center again. Wouldn't do it. So there's a lot of reasons why guys don't come back to a particular program. And so I don't know why Landon has not come back. It's unfortunate because he's a fun guy. He's a quadriplegic, but he's funny. He's like a low-key comedian. And every time I see him, I have a good time with him. And I've only seen him a few times over the years back in Assembly Hall. So Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Let me be politically correct. Are you talking about Langston? What happened to the guard from MSU that was on the Big Ten Network for a little bit? Langston, I think he got a different job that required he couldn't pull away. You got to have some flexibility to do these types of shows if you have another position. Sean Morris, for a long time, when he was working on the Big Ten Network, he was working as a development officer with Northwestern University. Then he was with the United Way as a high-level fundraiser with them as well. But those jobs allowed him to have some flexibility to be able to do that in addition. Whereas I think Langston's job didn't allow that type of flexibility. So that's what happened there. Sorry, no problem, Chad. While you were in the NBA, what former teammate was better skilled than you might have known? All of them, because they were in the NBA. All of them. Guys, let me tell you something. You think that the players at the top level of college basketball are talented, and they are. They are very, very talented. But the guys at the NBA level, they're killers. That's the best way I can describe them. They're not only the best of the best, but mentally, they're so much better than any other group of players in the world. That's why they're in the NBA. So I was shocked that all of those guys, Chad, everybody, particularly the guards that I used to go up against practice and in the games. Do you know how good Derek Harper was? John Stockton is one of the 75 best players that ever played the game. John Stockton hated seeing Derek Harper coming. I saw it personally. I was on the bench. I was watching it. John Stockton would, when I get my little few minutes, man, he's gripping me and riding me and pushing me where I didn't want to go. Man, Derek Harper would eat him a new lunch. Go back and look at, if you can find head-to-head matchups between Derek Harper and John Stockton, because they played a lot. Derek Harper was a monster, right? Let me think, who else really surprised? Allen Houston. Allen Houston He's known for a shot, and baby, could he shoot it? But he could deck it too. He could create space. He was quick. He wasn't like track speed fast, but quickness and shiftiness. He just needed a little space to get that J off, and he'd go to the rim and dunk on you. He surprised me. Grant Hill was a dog. Like, Grant Hill has this smooth exterior and all this stuff. Shoot. Go back and look at the game when the Pistons played the Miami Heat. And I think Zoe said something to Grant Hill. Go back and look at what Grant Hill did to Zoe. And Grant didn't talk stuff, but you better not talk trash to him, because if you got him mad, he'd go to another level. So Grant is this smooth, gentleman demeanor, perfect demeanor on the air. Man, you get him on the court, say something crazy to Grant and see what happens. All those guys, Chad, all the guards I ever went up against, they all shocked me a little bit. Gary Payton, I mean, just mouth almighty, but he had the game to back it up. Let me think. Who would you guys not know, or it's not a household name that was a killer? Let me think about that, Chad. Good question, though. Thank you, Dory. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this, because we're gonna do more of this. I'm not gonna put that up. That's funny. What's up, Ray Ray? Just based on Big Ten play, is Magic Johnson the best player to ever play in the Big Ten? Take away his Lakers stuff, just Big Ten wise. This might be controversial. The best player Big Ten wise might be Evan Turner. It could be Evan Turner. And the reason I say that, Magic and Isaiah left early. They left school as early as they possibly could. I think Evan stayed 3 years. Man, in the modern era, Evan Turner, Luka Garza, Zach Edey, Glenn Big Dog Robinson. Those guys are in that mix. If you're going to just talk about dominating Big Ten play, you guys remember Magic was dominant, but Magic also had Greg Kelser, who was all Big Ten, who was the NBA. Was Greg first round? Greg might have been the first round. Played in the NBA, was tremendous at Michigan State. So, yeah, that's a great question, Ray Ray. Let me think about that a little bit. Let me think about that. Great question, though. Oh, Dory brings up a great point. I hope Illini fans treat Phoenix well. It would not be a great look to disrespect Kendall's son. No, it wouldn't, Dory. And, you know, he's going to get some negativity. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to counsel Kendall because Kendall likes to throw punches in his off time. He's a boxer, like for real. Kendall can box, like really box. And if he heard something the wrong way, and he could get his hands on somebody, that wouldn't be pretty. I'm not advocating that, but I think you bring up a great point. I got some work to do. Thank you for that, Dory, because that was oof. Was Doug Collins a tough coach? Yes, he was. Yeah, Doug was a tough coach. He knew the game, and those coaches that were great players that turned into coaches, they have a harder time, because I think their expectations can be a little unrealistic, because Doug came from an era, if you guys remember, Doug was a star at Illinois State. Overall #1 pick in the NBA draft. Got robbed in the Olympics versus Russia. They had the gold medal and got robbed against Russia. So he should have been a gold medalist. But he was demanding. And, Doug had a little bit, in my opinion, Doug had a little bit of bipolar, maybe. Because sometimes you would catch him, he'd be very, very jovial, and then sometimes he was really down. Like he took losses extremely hard. There were times we came in practice, and I don't think he went home or slept. Because you see, I got my 5 o'clock shadow. His was thick. Sometimes, he hadn't shaved. His eyes were bloodshot, like he hadn't slept. Like I think sometimes he'd go into his office at the practice facility, and we come in for practice early in the morning, and didn't look like he had slept. So sometimes I think he took those losses extremely hard. He was an upbeat, emotional guy. Like he was positive for the most part, but he was tough, and he demanded a lot because he was a great player. And he always had a chip on his shoulder coming from Southern Illinois, not far from where I grew up in Benton, Illinois. So I know what that's like. And so guys like that, like I did, you have a chip on your shoulder. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to coach, is because I would have a hard time with players who were talented, but didn't want to work, didn't want to play with a chip all the time. And there are certain players whose personalities just don't fit that role. But great question, Ray Ray. Well, you spot on today, partner. You got some good ones. Oh, I got the shirt. Thanks. My non-basketball friends and family do not understand the saying. I love it. Oh, good. You're welcome, Carol. And thanks for your patience. Carol got one of the T-shirts, one of the college basketball T-shirts that we have, talking about the transfer portal. And there will be more. I'm in the process of getting more made, Carol. So thank you for that. Oh my goodness. And see, I didn't play against Chris in the NBA, but I played against him that one time, and that's all I needed. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf was a monster. Ask Kendall. Me and Kendall tag teamed, and he still dropped 29 on us. Ooh. This is why I love the tribe. Very, very knowledgeable. Calvert Chaney's got to be in the mix. All-time leading scorer in the Big Ten. Final 14, no doubt about it. He's definitely got to be mentioned. Great call, Curtis. Thanks for that, because I slept on that. Oh, Greg Kelser was a top 5 pick. Let's see. He was a beast. I know that. And a super, super nice guy. I mean, one of the best guys. Oh, 4th pick overall in the 1st round. There you have it. So you got Magic Johnson, and you got the 4th pick of the 1979 NBA draft, Greg Kelser. So I don't know that we've seen that very often, guys. Magic number 1 overall pick and the 4th pick on the same team. Have there been 2 lottery picks on the same team in the Big Ten in the last? Greg Oden and Michael Conley, maybe, of Ohio State, maybe. Man, great call. See, guys, that's why you want to become a tribe member. Go to barlowstribe.com, sign up. This is a knowledgeable group. Dan McGlathery. I don't know if I've seen you on there, Dan. If it's your first time, welcome to Barlow's Breakdown. The Illini versus Arkansas and Kansas City should be an awesome game with interesting storyline. Yeah, I like the fact that John Calipari and Brad Underwood hooked up on this. It might have had something to do with Orlando Antigua. But whatever the case, that's a great game. As you said, Dan, with some great storylines. Thanks for adding that. Yeah, I see Doug at Northwestern games a lot. Go up and give him a big hug. Get a chance to talk to him. Yeah, I see him a lot. Yeah, the Evensich brothers. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And then Orlando Antigua versus John Calipari. So I bet John Calipari is going to tweak his offense. What do you guys think? If he doesn't, I'd be surprised. Oh yeah. Doug Collins, man, he ain't backing down now. He did get in a squabble. Was it before Charles Oakley became a Bull? Was it Oakley or it might have been Rick Mahorn? I think it was Rick Mahorn. So, Sharif Abdul Rahim. Dan says Phoenix Gill would be an excellent player for Northwestern. I agree. Maybe a late bloomer like his father, Kendall. He's a little bit more advanced than Kendall was at the same point, Dan. But I think that he's going to get a chance to get the rock in his hands as an incoming freshman. Very, very talented and tough like his dad, mentally tough. And his core, he's a lot stronger than Kendall was at the same age because Kendall has been working with him and understands with all his background experience, basketball experience, I should say. But did Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson Jr. play on the same team? Were they on the same team? And Jaren Jackson Jr. played together. Let's see. Maybe they did. Yeah. Yeah, they did play together. So great call. Great call, Kyrie. Great call. Let's see. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, Dan, I hope that's just a bad rumor, man. I'd hate to see, because that's my guy. You know, like Tim is a guy that I had the closest relationship on that staff. I've got a good relationship with all of them, but Tim is my guy. You know, I know Tim before he even got to DePaul. Has always done a fantastic job with the players coming out of the Chicagoland area. And even before he got to DePaul, he was working out NBA guys before he got on a college coaching staff. So Tim is quite valuable to the program, and I just hope that's a rumor. Okay. Fly, Illini, fly. Good to see you, my man. Love your interview, though, TA, a few months ago. Yeah, he was the first assistant coach of the assistant coaches series that we had on Bardo's Breakdown. Fascinating interview. He did a great job. Go back, like Fly, Illini, fly says, a couple months ago. He was the first assistant that we had on here. So there is that. Again, guys, make sure you go to BardosTribe.com and get your free copy of Triple Threat. Also, please like, share, subscribe to Bardo Media on YouTube. Really helps the algorithm, helps me grow the show. I think you guys enjoy the content, and share it with people that you think would also enjoy it, because we need to get this out there. We need to get this a little bit bigger, because, again, Big Ten fans aren't getting this information like this, from guys that actually did it, the guys who are the voices of the Big Ten Conference. That combination you're not going to find anywhere else except for Bardo's Breakdown. So thank you to Maryland assistant coach Greg Manning. Thank you to Rapheal Davis for making this show one of the better ones that we've had here in the off season. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you all. This is probably one of the longer ones that we've had, but I thought it was necessary. So once again, thank you all for tuning in to Bardo's Breakdown. Until next time, holla, y'all.